Hey there, Helldivers! So now that the high-octane defense of Super Earth is over, I thought it'd be a great time to have a rambling, unstructured conversation about stratagems, specifically the ones that don't get picked often because either they lack a niche or a certain level of potency to make them fun. Now, this is not about making a meta or making anything OP. I build a lot of loadouts. I want everything in the game to have a purpose, to have a reason, something really fun or interesting that makes me choose to use it. And I think that there's quite a bit in the game that doesn't do that yet. And my suggestions are not like total rebuilds. The team is going to be going on vacation for a couple of months. So I would want to keep the suggestions relatively simple as something conceivably that they could do while on vacay. So let me know your thoughts. Agree, disagree, I don't care, as long as you participate and engage. All right, let's get into it. Starting things off with the EAT. Man, back in the day, this thing was the meta pick for taking out Bile Titans and Chargers, and has since been overshadowed by pretty much every other anti-tank in the game. Now, I wouldn't mind a little bit of a potency buff since these are expendables, but really what I'm hoping for is to get some additional utility from the Hell Pods. You're calling these down all the time. So yes, if you choose a booster like the Firebomb booster, it does come down with that little bit of an explosion, not that impressive. So maybe this also gets coupled with, you know, an additional boosters that kind of do that, or having the Firebomb be much more impressive. Probably having the armed resupply pods coming down on every one of those would be too much, but something. Utilize the fact that you're calling these down all the time. Maybe things like really making sure that the beacon sticks on pretty much any enemy you throw it on, and having it come down very quickly. So you basically use that hell pod that the anti-tanks are coming in as a potent weapon itself. The Commando really isn't too far from the EAT. It's very, very similar, slightly longer cooldown, but same type of an expendable rocket launcher. Essentially, I would like to see whatever then is done with that suggestion to the EATs would also be done to the Commando. All right, so the orbital laser. This might be a hot take, but I really don't think it's OP. Yes, it does help with some map clear. It can, you know, largely wipe out a base. But I think the addition of both the long cooldown and limited uses is a little too much. I would go with one or the other. Preferably, for me, it would be unlimited uses with a long cooldown. The reason being is I think this could be really cool for stealth play. So you've got the scout passive, your laser's on cooldown, you look for a little spot to hunker down on, avoid some patrols until that laser charges up again and it's ready to go, allowing you to take a heavy outpost, factory strider, or something. Up next, the rail cannon strike. Man, oh man, this one has really fallen behind the times. If you look at the animation when you select that stratagem in the ship, it shows, you know, it accurately killing a Hulk. Who cares? I mean, you can do that with the railgun, shooting in the eye, the quasar, recoilless, lots of things. Anything with heavy armor pen can do it. You know, in some cases it can't even one-shot a Bile Titan. It certainly can't a Strider. So the only thought I have, at least for easy fixes, is either a massive reduction in cooldown, or it damn near needs to one-shot a Factory Strider. I mean, anything else I think will require an overhaul to this stratagem to make it interesting. Up next, the Eagle 110mm rocket pod. So this one's kind of in a weird spot, right? It's sort of between the Eagle airstrike and the rail cannon strike. It has that precision, but it doesn't really have that potency. My thought here would be to make it very tactical, right? It has a bunch of call-ins, and the cooldown and the time in which it goes from beacon to effect being very short. That way, you know, you've got heavy units on you, you've got tanks, multiple of them at close range. Bam, you call one in, it blows up that tank, you're ready to go, it can blow up another one, with, of course, the counterbalance being that you can burn through these ultra quick, requiring you to have that Eagle rearm before you get any more. Eagle smoke and orbital smoke. Look, I know there's some people that use this, especially the stealth players. That's all well and good, but I think to make this a little bit more mainstream, without having helmets or passives with the ability to see through the actual smoke, I just really don't think this is ever going to get a whole lot of use. The Flame Sentry. In my opinion, great idea, poor in execution. You know, this was kind of intended, I think, in the bug front. but either chaff overwhelms it relatively quickly, or a charger just aggroes on it, bam, one charge and it's gone. My thought here would be to really make this a redoubt of chaff support. You bring it down and it has this like large wall of fire all around it, so the chaff can come in, they can get a swipe or two off of it, but then they'll eventually be put down from this wall of fire. Either that or like a barrier around the flanks of it, to let it really stay and be more of that bastion of defense I think it was intended to be, because it's close range as opposed to the machine gun sentry or the Gatling gun sentry, which I think just does that job but better in its range. The mortar sentry. So the issue I think that I have with this one isn't so much the lack of potency, it's that it tends to kill Helldivers more than anything else. You don't really see where those mortars are going to lie, so I think the quick fix here would be some kind of a indication on the ground when a mortar is about to hit, so at least Helldivers can get out of the way. But the real problem with the mortar sentry, I think, is not so much the mechanics of the weapon, but the mechanics of the enemies. There are no enemies that are truly standoff. They don't just engage with you from behind cover. There's no way to, they don't take cover. You don't need to ever flush them out. That's what the mortar would be great for, right? You have an entrenched enemy, they're laying down fire, and you need a way to force them out, kind of like area denial. There's no enemies that do that. So until that is addressed, until there's a much broader range of enemy types in which they use different tactics, I think the mortar is always going to suffer. The exosuits. Okay, I think this is going to be hard to tweak without making it OP. The problem that we have, I think, with the latest round of changes is they've become too flimsy. The arms can break off really easily. They don't really have a whole lot of endurance as it is. They can't really stand up to a whole lot of punishment. And then you also have a long cooldown and limited uses. All of that makes for a really tough choice. At the very least, a lot of the community has suggested some form of rearm mechanic, but I think it's going to need a little more. But like I said, I don't have any solid ideas here. Would love to see what you think. Okay, and at least the last one, this video has gotten really longer than I wanted. But okay, the one true flag. Look, I love the drip. I think it's great, but to really kind of make sure that you have a mechanical reason to take it, what I would like to see is something like an AoE buff, right? Someone comes in, they plant the flag, and that gives all nearby Helldivers endurance or fire rate or whatever, something. I think that would be really thematic. That'd be really fun. It kind of synergizes really well with any kind of a defense mission or an objective where you need to hold the line. I think it would just go beautifully with that. So when it comes to stratagems, that's all I have. So what do you think? I mean, for those few that are still listening to a video this long, did I miss anything? Is there anything else that you would like to see? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments, and maybe, I don't know, maybe we can send this over to Arrowhead and see what they think.